Please join us in saying, life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Hi, and welcome to worship with First Church. My name is Chris Holton Jablonski, and that it is my great joy and privilege to serve you as your minister. I'm so glad that you're here with us today, so glad to share this time together. You're being welcomed to a pretty wonderful worship service featuring a new member to the church named Yasmin Azad, who we all have the great joy and privilege of having as a presenter at an event on October 16th. Yasmin wrote a wonderful book called Stay Daughter, which I commend to you all. And it's a fascinating memoir, her story about growing up in Sri Lanka. It's a really, really wonderful book. And so the event on the 16th will be about the book, and you can look on the website and learn more about how to get the book and the event coming up on the 16th. And she and I collaborated on this service today. So it's a great joy to have her here as well as you. And by the time you see this, chances are you can also still join in a wonderful class coming up on October 6th. It's the first of our spiritual leadership classes, which are being led by Lillian Anderson, our adult programs coordinator, and Cora McCold, our acting director of youth ministry. And it's a great class for existing leaders or emerging leaders or longtime leaders in the middle of transition. It's definitely worth checking out. So that's going to be on October 6th. And you can do the first class and then see if you like it and do the whole series. So lots of other stuff on the way, every group beginning, lots of wonderful things. So do please look over all the stuff that we're sending out to you. And if you have any questions or need any support, I'm always available, as are all of your staff and all of your leaders. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. But for now, welcome. Let us worship together.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
This is Lockdown by Brother Richard Hendrick. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is spreading flyers with her number through the neighborhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and remember that, yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen. Behind the factory noises of your panic, the birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. And we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and through you, though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.
I was told to cut out the triangles. For what? I have no clue. But Eduardo and Celeste seemed to be having fun with all their string and all their glue. And as I cut out these pointy small triangles, I have a look around. I see Robert and Alicia cutting out orange circles. Yes, circles that are perfect, large, and round. What am I to do with these triangles, fragile, thin, and black? What's the point? What's the use? They topple when they're stacked. The teacher says he has a plan, but does that plan include me? Does he not notice the insignificance of a shape with sides of 3? 3, yeah, that's not many. Now he asks us to bring what we have to the table. I'm nervous and want to hide. What's the point in sharing what you did when there's no confidence, no pride? He calls Eduardo with a smile, and Celeste brings up the string. And then Alicia with those circles, which appear to be the most important thing. I hope no one points and laughs when it comes to be my turn. Oh, geez, he said my name. Oh, but look, it makes a jack-o'-lantern.
I am going to begin my talk with a story that many of you may know about the conversation that the Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg had with the Dalai Lama about self-hatred. Here's how she describes it. What do you think about self-hatred? I asked. I was eager to get directly to the suffering I had seen so often in my students, a suffering I was familiar with myself. The room went quiet as all of us awaited the answer. Looking startled, the Dalai Lama turned to his translator and asked pointedly in Tibetan again and again for an explanation. Finally, in confusion, he turned to us. Self-hatred, he asked in English. What is that? Sharon Salzberg continues. All of us gathered at that conference were from Western countries, and self-hatred was something we immediately understood. That this man, whom we all recognized as having a profound psychological and spiritual grasp of the human mind, found the concept of self-hatred incomprehensible, made us aware of how many of us found it found it all but unavoidable. Ever since I personally heard Sharon Salzberg tell this story, I've thought about it. Why was it that the people of one culture immediately understood the concept of self-hatred, while those in another were perplexed by the very idea? I found this question especially intriguing because as a mental health counselor, I had worked with many clients who expressed self-loathing. As far as I can tell, one of the most differences is that traditional cultures, such as the one the Dalai Lama grew up in, have social networks that foster a strong sense of belonging. And what Robert Frost said of family can also be said of such communities. It's the place where if you had to go there, they have to take you in. And this taking in is expressed in big ways and small. Let me share with you something that happened when I was visiting a relative in Sri Lanka, where I was born. Having walked across a muddy field where cows roamed, I stopped outside the house to scrape off mud and other stuff from the bottom of my sandals. My relative ran up to me, held me by the hand, and urged me in. "This is not London, you know," she said. "This is your aunt's house." She was telling me I didn't need to be perfect and polished to be welcomed. She cared more about me than her flow. Though such belonging is most often found in communities built on kinship ties, they can be replicated to a great extent on shared goals, shared values, shared experiences, and shared ethnicities. But they all require an individual's willingness to give up his or her comfort and convenience for the common good, at least sometimes or most times. Real sacrifices repeated over and over again are essential to building true community. That's what it means to not promote hyper-individualism. Sometimes these are big sacrifices, sometimes tiny ones, such as when you pay more attention to welcoming a person than to the mud being tracked on your floors. There are more involved causes at the root of self-hatred than just a lack of connection, and healing from it usually requires a multifaceted mix of treatments. But as spiritual teacher Tara Brach explains in an article titled "Awakening from the Trance of Unworthiness," our most fundamental sense of well-being is derived from the conscious experience of belonging. An acute sense of separation, living inside of a contracted and isolated self, amplifies feelings of vulnerability and fear. And I might add self-hatred. And Tara Brach continues, "Never in the history of the world has the belief in a separate self been so exaggerated and prevalent as it is now in the 21st century in the West." Such belonging as close-knit communities foster can come with its own cost. Orthodox societies can restrict basic human freedoms, tolerate abuse, and stifle independence and creativity. Extreme conformity, like extreme individualism, brings its own problems. What Tara Brach is referring to, though, is a belief in a separate self that has been exaggerated. Perhaps what has been exaggerated can be brought back towards a balance that allows people to thrive amidst connections that foster self-love, yet also allow individuals to be who they distinctively are. Poet Rainer Maria Rilke describes one way of losing self-hatred and finding ourselves again. Here's what he says: "It's here in all the pieces of my shame that now I find myself again. I yearn to belong to something, to be contained in an all-embracing mind that sees me." Becoming one with the transcendental spirit is one way of finding belonging and overcoming self-hatred, and that's a journey worthy of its own study and exploration. But it can also come from a supportive and all-embracing community.
I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion to help me unto God. I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion, Lord, I want more religion to help me unto God. Religion makes me happy, and then I wanna go to leave this world of sorrow and trouble here below. Let me walk more like Jesus. Let me walk more like Jesus. Let me walk more like Jesus to help me unto God. I'm walking with my Lord in this old sinful world. Someday take me home, and I'll walk with him above. I want more religion, Lord. I want more religion. I want more religion to help me unto God.
This is How to Survive the Apocalypse by Sean Parker Dennison. First, learn to listen, not only for enemies around corners and hidden places, but for the faint footsteps of hope and the whisper of resistance. Hone your skills, aim your heart toward kindness, and stockpile second chances. Under the weight of destruction, we will need to find the strong shelter of forgiveness and the deeper wells that give the sweet water of welcome. We have a place for you. When the world ends, we must not add destruction to destruction, not accept a beggar's bargain to fight death with more death. In order to survive the apocalypse, any apocalypse at all, we have to give up the counterfeit currency of self-sufficiency, the mistaken addiction to competition, the lie that the last to die has somehow survived. I remember so clearly when Jack, My younger son, now 10, went off to kindergarten for the first time. In part, I remember it because I was following him and his brother, their backpacks wider than their little bodies. Ben was then in 2nd grade, and while they have always had brotherly bickerings, Ben is almost always ready with some steady, deep-rooted love any time anyone in the family really needs him. And he remembered his own first day fear, and so as they walked up to the building, Ben reached out his little hand and held on to his brother's little hand and guided him into the building and to his classroom. My daughter Aaliyah just started kindergarten this year, and of course it has been a very different sort of beginning, largely because it's all happening in our home. The transition to hybrid is coming, but for now, we all get ready for school, the boys at our kitchen table, one on each side, air traffic controller headsets on, a big bowl of fidgets to help them stay seated and attentive. And in the living room, Aaliyah is perched on a little blue chair we covered in stickers of unicorns and hearts, an iPad in front of her, holding her teachers and all of her classmates. And since she is 5, I am largely there helping her along. I've moved progressively farther away, a foot at a time, now perched a few feet away in the kitchen, but still there, ready to swoop in for any reason to help facilitate snacks and find paper and packets. So in the midst of all of this, I have also gone back to kindergarten, and it has been a beautiful experience. In part, it's been beautiful because we are deeply blessed to have 2 incredible teachers in Aaliyah's class. Huge shout out to Ms. Levy and Ms. Hamilton at the Butler School. They've been a team for many years and lead the class with skill and compassion, with so much love and care. It's one of my deepest pleasures in life watching anyone who is really good at what they do, and these 2 are really good. I can always find something helpful about my own craft every time I do. So I savor these 2 teachers and their transition songs, their powerful and clear welcoming love surrounding all the kids. I also cherish hearing classic quotes like, "Everly, honey, please take the scissors out of your mouth," and "Mikey, I really need you to get a tissue. That's not what your shirt is for." But I think what I love most about kindergarten is the connection and the community which the teachers are helping build over and over again. It has been such a joy in the midst of this full and frightening moment, in the midst of so many feelings and so much unknown, to be in the midst of these children just starting out, just starting to learn their loveliness, just starting to learn how to use scissors and make letters, just starting to learn that they can be friends with people who are different from them, just starting to learn what they love and who they are, starting to learn that they are precious and beautiful, held and holy just as they are. I'm so grateful to Yasmin for sharing today. And what I find so beautiful in her words and in this holy task of relearning kindergarten and in the beginning again of this church year here together is that this love connecting us, this powerful love that we cultivate and grow and share freely between us, this is a precious and powerful thing in this world. Because especially now, for many of us, for years removed from the supportive circles of kindergarten, we have heard over and over of our insufficiency. We have heard that we are too old or too fat or too slow or too poor. We have been steeped in our lack like the most poisonous marinade. And so this idea that we are loved, this truth that we are held and loved, accepted and celebrated, honored and precious and cherished just as we are, warts and all, cracks and all, glories and triumphs and talents and all, just as we are. This is a complicated truth to let in, but it is one of the core truths of our faith. This inherent worth and dignity of all people includes you and me and all our folks and all the other folks. Like the poet said early on, we are always encompassed by love. And our work here is to remember. And when it's hard to remember, to remind one another, to give up the counterfeit currency of self-sufficiency, this mistaken addiction to competition, and to rest in love, to cultivate and know love of self, of other, of all. So much love to you all. Amen. We give thanks for the birds singing in Wuhan, for people singing to each other across empty squares. We give thanks for waking up to what really matters, for the rebirth of love, for the sky clearing. We give thanks for muddy sandals welcomed in, for this not being London, but your aunt's house. We give thanks for the connections which foster self-love. We give thanks for finding ourselves again, for the all-embracing mind that sees us. We give thanks for the sweet water of welcome, for stockpiled second chances, for the faint footsteps of hope and the whisper of resistance. We give thanks for small hands reaching out, for big backpacks and first day fear. We give thanks for this powerful love, connecting us, holding us now, just as we are, loving us now, just as we are. Amen.